Welcome to today's session. Today's session we'll learn about uh, consolidate function, then later what if analysis. So we have something called the consolidate option and on Excel under the data tab. When you have data as we have here under 2017 sales and 2018 sales. This is a similar company or the same company. Two Trees Extra Virgin Oil, their sales for 2018, their sales for 2017. Okay. And you want to combine. I remember the other day we talked about the Power Query and its function, but now you want to combine the sales into one sheet based on a formula that will take up, like, for example, what we have here. We have quarter one sales, quarter two sales, quarter three sales, quarter four sales. And probably in our scenario, we want to know how is this product called Two Trees Tasting Party, what is the sum of the item on the two quarters based on the two different years. If you go to 2017 sales, click on 2017 sales, you'll find out that everything is the same. Nothing is different. Nothing is different. Okay. We have the same products. You have the only difference is the values. The values. Now come to this sheet called combined sales. Okay. All right. So on the data tab, this is where you will be working mostly, either the home tab, insert, and if worse comes to worse, you'll use the formulas and the data tab. We've tried to look at everything on the data tab. We've looked at every button that is here. And today we will look at this one and we will be good to go. Okay. So under this data tab, there is this tool here. You seen it? There is that tool here. Okay. Now that one. I think it's above your Zoom icon. Yes. Click on it. Yes. So we have that consolidate feature. Just a moment, cancel. So just click on the consolidate. You see what consolidate does. So consolidate summarizes data from separate ranges, consolidating the results in a single output range. Okay. They're saying if you have an worksheet of expense figures for each of your regional offices, you might use a consolidation to roll up these figures into an expense worksheet. All right. Our our case is almost similar. We have items that we've been selling for 2017 and 2018 years, and you want to get their combined sum on this sheet. So how do you go about it? Click on C3. C3. Go to highlight it up to the what's called C3 up to this one. Yes, there. Then click on consolidate on top. Yes. Then the references. Now on top, we have the consolidate dialog box. Then we have a function. Okay. Several functions are there. Click on that drop down. Okay, once, not that one, the other one. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Just no. So this one, the options for sum, function, etc. So all those functions are available to you at your disposal for use. Okay. Our example will be about sum. So if you can sum, you can average, you can max, you can etc. You can do whatever. Okay. So we'll just go with sum. Mhm. Then the reference. Now click on this for browsing. The blue, not that one. No, that one. So you can consolidate even with worksheets that are not active. They are just on your device. Okay. For our case, this one. The arrow that is pointing up.
Pardon?
The arrow that is pointing up. I think there's a lag. Yes. Then go to 2017. Sales. Then highlight from C4 to D to F. C4. No. You highlighted from A4. From C4. Yes. Then click on that arrow again. Yes. Then click on add. Then now go to the next one. Delete that. Okay. Click on that arrow. Yes. Then C4. C4 to F4. Okay. Then click on add. And there's something that is wrong. Just a moment. Go to the formula. Go to the formula. Delete 2018 sales. Delete one. Are you seeing that on the formula? Delete from the first exclamation mark going to the left. Yes. Yes, delete it up to where you get to the other exclamation mark. Yeah, then click on this arrow pointing down. Then click add. Okay. Then you have the option of use labels in top row, left row. You can leave them as is, then click OK. Yes. So that is it. That's the consolidate function. Okay, if you go back, let's just look at one example just to confirm we've done the right thing. Just look at Q1 of 2017. Yes, you're still on combined sales. Go to 2017. We have 60/50 here. And we also have, go to 2018. We have 6409. Okay, so if you do your mathematics, go to combined sales. We have that 12,459. Okay. All right. So make sure that the ranges are the same, like where you placed your numbers, you make sure that they are in the same vein. Like we were using, if you go to 2017, our range was from C4 to F10. Okay. Make sure that your ranges are good to go. Then if you are interested in finding out where those formulas are coming from, you can go back to click on the consolidate function on top. Yeah. Let's click on it. So I want you to check on create links to data source. Okay, then do this. Uh, Click on this one, 2017, then click delete. Yeah, then click delete. Then click on it, click delete. Then add another add. Click on add. Sorry. First of all, use a reference. So browse again 2017, 2018, just as we did the first time. So you've seen how if you wanted to delete, you see how you can do it. Yes, click there on that arrow. Okay. Did we, okay, go to 2017. Did we highlight from C4 on the combined cells? Did we highlight everything? Go to 2018. Mhm. Then click OK. Yes. So with that, create links from on the side. If you click on this expand, you click on it, it will tell you the exact values that were involved. Okay. Click on another one. Awesome. So that is the consolidate function. You've already seen how to delete, so you can move on to something else. Okay. All right. For our case for today, I want you to do this. I want you to, no, this will not be our screenshot for the day. But make sure you do it, you try it out. Okay. Let's go to scenario manager. This one, this sheet called scenario manager. Mhm. Yes, scenario manager. So we have this, we have sales for service sales for 2019, and we want to project 2020 sales. Our projections would be on 2020, we hope for a 3% increase, while in 2020 also, we would also want to see what would that look like for a 5% increase. Okay, so what will that look like? As I said, we have the what if analysis, which with the what if analysis, we're able to tell if uh, certain conditions were there. These are the kind of figures that we would be able to see. Okay, so under the data tab on the forecast group, we have what if analysis and forecast sheet. Okay, I want you to click on, where are we right now? We're on C12. I want you to click on what if analysis. Try out values for formulas. So we look at scenario manager. Click on scenario manager. Okay. Yes. Okay. Oh, I've already done everything. Click on delete, 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 then delete, then delete. Okay. So we will come up with a scenario based on the two provisions that I had highlighted. If we have a 3% increase, what would be the value? What would the values look like? Okay. So this scenario manager, we will add two scenarios or even three. Click on add. Okay. So we have the scenario, add scenario dialog box that appears where we have the scenario name, then changing the cells. The cells that would be ideally affected at the tail end of the session would be the total sale, the totals. I want you to drag this dialog box to the right so that everyone can see. Yes, this cell. This is where all the values, the summation of all the values come out to, that is C12. So let's do the, most of the time it is good practice to have it's called what? The same year. The values that you have we just see them and compare them with the rest. So for scenario name, I want you to name it original or 2019 sales. Just to call it 2019 sales. Okay, then click OK. 2019 sales, then click OK. That's what happened. What happened? You clicked on add. All right, add. 19 cells. Then changing. Click on changing cells. This is delete that C12. Highlight C what? C4 to C11. Where is C4 to C11? Yes. Then I think that's okay. Then click OK. All right. So these are the values that are there ideally on 2019. Nothing has changed, right? Yes. Then click OK. All right. Then add another scenario. So type 3%. This is 2020 sales. 2020 sales, 3% increase. Increase. Then click OK. Okay. For us to increase these values by 3%, that would mean 1.03%, right? That is, if one is the original, then 3% increase is 3 over 100. Okay, so do this at the front of the values. Type in is equals to 1.03. No. Before the 20,000, the is equal sign to be in front is equals to 20,000, 1.03%. 1.03, no percentage. That's it's still okay. Delete that. Times asterisk. Yes, so you can copy that from that asterisk to the equal sign. So you just you paste it on the rest of the values. Yes. Yes, so you do that, do that. Uh-huh. Yes. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Everything is done. Click OK. Yes, if everything is done, click OK. Okay, click OK. Yes, we have that. Then add another scenario for 5% increase. Call it 2020 sales, 5% increase. So for 5% increase, what will the mathematics look like? So remember, we are saying 3% increase. 3% is the increases. 100% is just as it is, the values as they are. Okay, the values as they are. But if you want to have a 5% increase, 5% increase is, we'd have to do 5% of each individual value plus the original values. So if that is the case, that's why we are adding one. That's why we are adding, what's it called? One to the 0.3 or 0.5, so that we just do it all at once. Okay, that's the idea. Okay. If you want to increase by 20%, that would be 1.2. That is 20% plus the original 100%, which gives you 1.2%. 1.2, sorry. Yes, every value. Scroll down. All right. Now click on summary. Yes, that's okay. So we want a scenario summary of the results cell. The resulting cell is that one. Then click OK. Awesome. Hello. Yeah, so you see, now we have that scenario there. We have the three scenarios that are there, the original data current values. We repeated those current values. Then we have, if we are supposed to have a 3% increase, these are the values that would be. A 5% increase, this is how it would be. Then at the very bottom, we have the values. For our 5% increase, we are making $168,000. For a 3% increase, this is what we are making. Okay, so most of the time you'll find this scenario manager used by financial professionals. Okay. All right. So this is the screenshot that I wanted to take. Already we have seen what you're supposed to do. So you can do that now.
Right.
So we'll continue on ethics. And we've gone out to the breakout sessions, and I want to get to know from room 1 what you learned about ethics. Why do you think it is important? Room 1. Hello.
I'll suggest John from group 1 to give us a brief.
Okay.
Yes. A brief on what?
On what we've learned about ethics from our group, the discussion that we had.
Oh, okay. What you are doing is after reviewing the whole chapter on ethical considerations, we have come up with different questions, asking different scenarios, which were rotating. They were revolving between honesty to integrity. We have seen like getting data from children, giving data which is outdated, which is not honest, other respect, going deep into someone's private life, like that. Right?
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Susan.
We also try to understand what really ethics is, and we came up with the simple definition that ethics is trying to have clearly stated rules and regulations of what is good. Actually good, you separate the good from the bad when you're trying to collect data as a researcher. So we had a case study, we discussed the case study, and now took it upon us as researchers what we should do when you're collecting data out there. What should we consider? And in that, now what John has said, we saw fit to consider privacy of an individual, informed consent from that person, the security, where we talked about do not use the information collected to harm the people. Also, you should inform the people where you're collecting the data, the importance of that data you're collecting, the purpose, and yeah, for which reason are you going to use it? And then also it is important when collecting data to inform the people that this data we are collecting from you, it's going to be used for this particular number of period, after which it will no longer be valid, so that you don't go using data collected in 2023, use it in the year 2070 if we'll still be there. Yeah, so those are some of the issues that we discussed alongside the what do you call the this story of Mary and the last activities that was in the PowerPoint presentation. Yeah, so that's it from group 1, BK.
Awesome. Good work. All right. We had Stanley and
Yes, sir.
Simon.
Okay, now from group 2, now we read a story of Mary, whereby Mary had taken her job and she was to interview 100, but all of a sudden along the road, she got tired. Now we tried to see what did we learn from Mary, whereby in the debrief we are talking about what did we observe from Mary. We realized that at some extent you'll be willing to do some sort of work, but in between, because of a lot of, or rather ABCD coming in between, before when you are making a decision, then we realize at a time there is in between, either people lags can come in, or rather to some extent or some work will come in. Now coming in, then it makes you, or rather make your journey not the way you had expected. Another thing of which talk about the idea of the conduct of Mary, you realize Mary had very positive when she was taking or rather accepting that particular job, but all of a sudden to some extent she did not manage. Then her conduct some point when she was proceeding with her work, then you realize it dropped the attitude, or rather the morale dropped. Then to that particular conduct, it's not that probably if you promise somebody this is the much you'll be doing, then you realize you will have to make that boy not rely on you, then meaning you are not reliable. And the last one, talk about give the reason what happened. Then at this particular point, for example, the Mary, we saw it, that Mary, she was willing, but because of the homework and some sort of work whereby it was a priority to that point so that she could proceed. Then for that, the reason what made her not attain what she has promised, or rather what she was to achieve, it was because of some work which came in between. Now again, we went ahead and we talk about the idea of morals and the morality in terms of the idea of conduct and norm. At that particular point, we talked about the idea of the attention. We had what is the attention, why you are doing it, and then the method probably you might end up trying to adapt. For example, at that people find that you can talk about the idea when I'm going to carry my research. Then find that you have the adaptive. For example, you can talk about the idea of questionnaire. We can talk about the idea of interview. You can talk about the idea of whatever. Then find that in whatever you're going to use, to some extent, can bring in the idea of fatigue, because talking about the idea of open question and open-ended question and the closed-ended question to some extent could contribute. You are such being best, or rather better, or rather it could contribute for you being strenuous. And then another talk about the idea of the form of finding. Now, how you will have to present your findings. Probably recommendation or rather whatever. Then to some extent as well, we had a look at that. Now we had another thing whereby we were looking about the idea of, that was number 3, the ethics and the important. Then talk about the idea of we talked about the morals. Now under the idea of moral, we were looking about this sense whereby, what do you think need to be done so that you don't violate, if it's a village or rather a community, what do you need to do? Now, under the idea of principle, what principle do you think? Because you find that you can go in a community whereby you are so strange, people could not understand who are you and what you are going to do. Then, to some extent, then the principle, for example, what in that particular if that was a village. Then for that, if you go, for example, in Maasai region, then for that, if you wear the way they are wearing, then it is easier for them to come in. And then honesty, you need to be honest in whatever you're doing. If you say them this data you're going to use, for example, let me assume we want to collect data and we come up with a dam, then let it be a dam, let it not be a road, right? Those are the rights of whatever the area will be going to collect. Don't talk about the fairness. You need to be fair. You don't need to exaggerate. You need to be responsible. The other idea of conscience, you need to be conscious, or you have to be conscious on what you are doing. For example, we can go in an area whereby the culture doesn't accept whatever we want to do. Then for that, you need to be conscious. And then you have to make choices. What do you think it's going to do and is not going to harm you? And then honor. You need to go to that area and respect those particular people so that you don't go above or rather below their values. And lastly, under the idea of value, you have to value people the way you find them. Now, another thing of which probably we're talking about, we are trying to talk about the reason whereby you need to adhere to, or rather adhere to. Now, for example, here we're talking about protect vulnerable population. In fact, that we have this, we talk about this disability group. Now, in this disability group, then you need to bring them in the question, in the picture. Now, under the idea of the basic and public expectation and valuation, for example, when we plan, we want to collect data, you realize we have the public expectation. For example, if we don't have a road in this particular village, I'm talking about a rural area in Kakamega, you realize people will say now, probably we have not been having a road for the last 20 years. Then let us try to meet the expectation of this particular or other villagers. Then for it to be met, then for that, we need to do this work professionally. Now, another thing to talk about, you don't need to use somebody's work, the plagiarism, the idea whereby I just left your work and then go with it in that video, and I try to believe that work will assist me to correct that particular problem. Then that one is reporting faulty because you have just lifted your work and I want to use that work so that probably it could assist me to do my research. Another thing, accountability. Now, whatever you are doing, at some point, find that, for example, if you are governor today, and then whatever you're doing, you think, or rather you are doing because you are a governor, sometimes the power will be stripped. Then what will you expect? Then you need to be accountable. Then whoever is doing that particular research need to be accountable. Or rather, as well, the idea of the credibility. Whatever you're doing need to be credible. It's something of which tomorrow it can stand the test of time against the public. And another thing of which we looked at, if we talk about the idea of perception. How do you take it? How do you judge it? The result, how are the people taking it? Do you think, for example, people during election, people give us a lot of hopes, but when they have been elected, everything dies. Then this is another thing we talk about, the idea of perception. And lastly, how you publish your findings. Then you need to be very, very transparent. Another idea of which we were looking at it, we are looking about the idea of what need to be considered during research. Now, you find that we have a number of things which need to be considered when we talk about the idea of research. Now, the number one, talk about the idea of culture. For example, mostly we'll talk about the idea of culture because where you're going, those people have their own cultures. Then you need to respect culture. Another thing, talk about the idea. People might be, we have the class, a literate class, and to have those semi-literate and to have the literate class. Then when you're going there as well, you need to consider this particular thing. Another thing of which you need to consider is group. We have these classes of people as well need to be considered. Another idea of which probably we went through when you're doing research. Now, one, we had about the privacy of this particular people. For example, you have very sensitive information whereby you don't come and reveal my name. That's under the privacy. For example, if I tell you this governor did this and did this, and you don't go and say that F and G told me you did this and this, then you need to be very private. Under the idea of research, when you talk about the idea of research and research are two words, but if we add there it simply means it should be done again. That's coming under the idea of reuse. It will be reused. Now, if you give faulty information today, 2 years, when that work will be reviewed, probably it can bring you a lot of problem. Another thing, we talk about the idea of duty. Now, if you take this research, then accept that's a duty, then do it to your best. And then another thing about the idea of dignity. Now, when you talk about the idea of this research, when you talk about the idea of dignity, then talk about credible. Give something which is credible and it will protect your dignity. Confidential was another thing. And then the importance of ethics. For example, when we are defining what was ethics, we agreed that ethics, in our group, we agree ethics are principles that are norms or principles that are guiding certain community, or rather it could be a community, it could be an institution, whatever, or rather any other. Then whatever you're going to use it, those principles and those norms are the one we're talking about. It's guiding you. Now, as a researcher, we have that class. We have what is known as the ethics of the researchers. Then as well need to be adhered to. And then another thing, talk about the idea of consent. When you want to come to do research, you need to have my consent. You don't come and bump in and try to tell me, oh, today I'm doing research. You need to brief me. I will be doing research in your area in this particular, and we'll be discussing about probably the low level of education in this particular area. Then, in your opinion, probably those people who are willing, kindly, on Wednesday, let us meet at that particular tree, and then we'll have to do something. And lastly, we have a look at the individual. About the respect of individuals, we had a idea of human dignity. Now, the classes under the dignity, you find that we have a lot. One, the human. Then these classes of human, it depends. We have quite those we have those when I talk about this disabled worker. We have those who are physically challenged, impaired. Then all of them they are there, and then their privacy as well. You need to consider duty to inform, so that you seek their consent. Now, that is what I think we had in our group, but it is open. Anybody can add there. And then lastly, when you talk about the idea of question, now, the question, for example, we talk about the first one, the researcher wanted to know why there was a lot of school dropouts in a certain village. Now, at this particular point, you realize the researcher, what he did, he went school children on the roadside and collected the data. He did not have the content of it, particular children's. And another thing, our group agreed that probably these children were not, although those people who could not were not reliable, because when you talk about the idea of consent, we're talking about somebody who is above 18 years. This is a mature person who can give, or rather can know what she or rather he is doing. Then this one we agreed that it was a wrong. Under the data collection in the village. Now, the question that this guy was asking, or rather this lady was intimate. Under the idea of intimacy, then you realize unless the researcher was all about the idea of intimacy, then this one as well, it was wrong. And another question talk about to do with information to be provided. Now, under this particular point as well, we agreed it was wrong. And lastly, under the researcher decided to use data collected 10 years. Now, this one, in fact, could be a secondary data which was being used. That's number one. Number two, the data which has been collected 10 years at that particular point, we realized it could not be up to date so that it can solve current problems. Data collected in 2010, or rather 2010, cannot solve problem which is in 2020, or rather 2020, or rather 2021. Then that data could not be up to date. And lastly, the researcher decided to include all personal information in the participant. Then that was very wrong. The consent we are collecting data regarding, for example, a dam. Then the information that he could have shared, it was all strictly regarding that particular dam. That is my take from my group. Now, anybody from my group can add contribution. Otherwise, thank you very much.
Okay, that was awesome. That was robust. I see we are just about to conclude, and maybe to add what the two groups have done is we are only as safe as the people who are around us adhere to ethics. We are only as safe as the people who are around us adhere to ethics. Most of the time, you'll find the complaints that are there, or even the prisons that are created, are because ethics was not followed up to. Recently, we've just seen what happened in Ngishu County about the parents who had paid up some money for some scholarship. That scam that took over. So I always tell my learners that if where you are staying right now, the person, the mason or the foreman or the architect or the engineer did not have ethics, your house will easily go down. Because ideally, from most of us who are here, we are not engineers. We only believe that the person who did your house was a good person. They followed up. They have ethics. Okay. If today you went if you have a child or a sibling, you went to the school and found out that the teacher that is training your sibling or a child does not adhere to ethics, you'll be scared, you'll be freaked out. at no time when you're using public meals, do you stop and go with the alcohol, is it alcohol blower to the driver and ask him if they have had an alcohol that morning. So we are only as safe as the people around us have or adhere to ethics. And looking back at what we were looking at, it's very important that when we are handling data, that we make sure that we don't have personal identifiable information. You serialize the information that participants have shared with you. You protect human dignity, you inform, you get consent, you protect children, you do no harm, and there's always a limited reuse. After a certain time, you need to destroy that data. Then always we need to respect privacy and family. Okay, so it's very important that we do that. So I like that we've been able to engage with that. We've come to the end of our session today. What remains is revision. That is what remains. Then the next thing that we are supposed to be doing, we will be doing our graduation. All of you have your individual assessments. I know Stanley and Eunice have already submitted their individual assessments, and I'm expecting all of you will do that. Now, then the next week, but one, we will be going through the revisions for the cohort 12 guys at our normal time. For the cohort 13 at not our we will communicate maybe Monday, Wednesday and Friday. Wednesday and Friday we will do that. Ideally, what's it called? If everyone has done their due diligence, we will be graduating on 31st, both groups, unless something changes, we'll be graduating on 31st. And the criteria has always been, you make sure that you submit your assignment and the screenshots. Okay. All right. Any question before we call it an evening? All right. That said, I want to congratulate you, all of you, the 15 that are here, that you guys are amazing people. To stay that committed for cohort 12, this is 2 months. For cohort 13, daily commitment. That is not easy. Sit down and just clap for yourself. I think we'll have more engagement and more conversations on our graduation day. Okay? All right. Anything before we go? Aswani, Gloria, Dennis, Magdalene. Awesome.
Nothing at the moment.
Just an appreciation. Hi.
Hi.
Okay, I'm Dennis, cohort 13. But I just want to appreciate you also for the commitment and for the good job you have done for training us. This we have increased in knowledge, excel, and also now going forward. Now we'll get something to do. From the expectations we wrote, we shall work out on them. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Okay, I'm really glad to hear that. We'll do more of that on next time. Then, based on what we're supposed to do, we're supposed to organize for one meetup. I will share the information. You guys will choose which day that is available for us to do so. For those who are in Nairobi, for those who are joining from Denmark, from Mombasa, from Thika, we will meet on the graduation day. Otherwise, have a good evening. Let's continue helping each other to finish, for those who have not finished the assignments, to submit it. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you,
Bye.
Mwalimu. Bye.